Hey, I know this one! Isekai. If you don't know what it is, let me refresh your memory. Yes, it is where a person goes to a world where they aren't from. This leaves an innumerable amount of possibilities. You can have a person go to hell, you can have them go to a planet with foreign vegetation and animals, even send a guy back to the Stone Age to use his modern knowledge to start a kingdom. How Japanese authors began to interpret the genre was... The isekai being adapted into anime became increasingly cookie-cutter. The word Adventurers Guild makes me want to close my fucking laptop every time I hear or read it. They all take place in the same European country that for some reason speaks Japanese. They all have the same monsters, they all have the same type of magic. The main character is always a loser. How much do I have to go on before we're all on the same page here? And the reason is that every single one of these tropes can be traced back to one isekai, Mushoku Tensei. The first story to popularize everything we see in modern isekai, like the elves or the adventurers guilds, all that. It's even called the grandfather of isekai by almost everyone in the community. Even Google's first result is stop calling it the grandfather of isekai, it's cringe and misleading. Okay, so it might not be the origin of all anime like everyone who enjoys the light novel wants to believe, but it is pretty widely considered the light novel that popularized a ton of common themes we see in anime. Mushoku Tensei was actually the first big series to do that right before Konosuba a month later. They actually started the truck thing, allegedly, and so on. Why? Because the story's fucking good. There's a packed funeral with one empty seat. While his family mourns, the main character's at home, watching hentai. His room looks like every anime YouTuber's room I've ever seen. He's down tremendously. Just when things couldn't get worse, he's thrown out of his room and left out in the rain. Ah, there's a truck, no! Boom! That's not actually audio from the show, I made it myself. He opens his eyes to find that he's surrounded by strangers and Hey, gays! Gay! In the new world, his name is Rudius. He's raised by an accomplished knight and milky mommy. Throughout the years, he makes some observations. A, this is not Earth. B, there are a ton of supernatural elements here. And C, I finally have a second chance. That's what's so special about this anime. In stories like this, too often the focus lingers on getting the character as overpowered as possible, as fast as possible. Ooh, I want them to become a moral beacon of good so all the little kids can project themselves onto this super cool, super strong main character and buy my merch. That was cool. Back when I was still watching Jack's films and PewDiePie, but now that I've actually paid taxes and tried pussy and butthole, these sort of idealistic power fantasies don't do it for me. Personally, I don't really care about, which is why Mushoku Tensei shines brilliantly to me. They establish a link with the main character and actually stick to it. Rudy lived a horrible, stagnant life while pulling away from all his friends and relatives. He'd literally given up because he didn't think he could fall any further, a spot where a lot of people are right now. So when he actually gets a second chance, that trauma causes him to sprint in the opposite direction. A new body, family that loves him, things he never had on Earth, which motivates him to become the best version of himself here. As viewers, we watch Rudy teach himself how to control magic at a really young age. He works out, develops relationships, and most importantly, overcomes trauma. You see him as a magic prodigy and genius because all the hard work he goes through. He learns a new language, picks up a sword by the time he's 5, he can't go outside. He can shoot water balls out his hand, yeah, he can't go outside. Rudy is unbearably human. Even after he ventures out into the world, there are constant reminders of his past and constant instances of trauma that run deep and influence how he acts. You don't see that in these shows, dude. Some of them, yeah, of course, but how rare is it that you get to see an isekai protag being human instead of an extremely overpowered cool man? As rare as a bar of soap at Anime Expo. But there is some overpowered cool man action. Now I'm not going to show you too much of it because when I do, people yell at me, but the story gradually ramps up the fight scenes and magic and stuff. Don't worry. What you should be worrying about is that you're in a coma. You're in a coma. Wake up. You're not actually watching YouTube. Ow!
What are you fucking doing?
I was just messing with the audio.
Off the laptop now.
What you should worry about is how crazy the story eventually gets. There's some wild twists that I'm positive everyone who enjoys anime are going to be talking about. Listen, there's a lot of angles that you can enjoy this show from. Maybe you just like the magic and adventure aspect of the show. There's plenty of that, from slaying magic creatures to going on quests and so on. Maybe you like a story that gets heavy. That certainly happens a lot, especially later on. But even if you're just here for a casual watch, Mushoku Tensei is fine for exactly that. The characters are all deeply flawed in some way. I'm gonna dance around spoilers to try to not give anything away, but if that ain't your thing, just skip like 20 seconds. You should abhor the dad. He does more than one questionable thing in the series, but because you're given so much insight into how he thinks and what brought him to do the things he does, it's crazy hard. You find out that behind the scenes, he's a really thoughtful and well-meaning guy most of the time. Rudy is, again, human. So human, in fact, that I want to vomit. He's a deplorable human, he's a Minecraft YouTuber, he's a groomer. If you look up to Rudy, you are stupid. This guy has some sick tendencies, like he makes these young females attached to him so he can get with them in the future when he's basically already in his 40s. That just rubs me the wrong way. I can already tell that this is going to be the next thing Twitter and YouTube pretend to be upset about, like Goblin Slayer. Just wait a few episodes. But if you can see past that major flaw in his character, you're a piece of shit. Just kidding, but I don't think you're supposed to overlook his creepy tendencies or how manipulative the guy can be. They even draw out how much of a disgusting child he was to take care of in the light novel. His new mom recalls, when feeding this baby milk, it will lick. Come on, man. Despite me having every reason to hate this guy, I don't really. It makes sense. This guy isn't supposed to be your role model. He had no choice in being spit out into another world. And despite his shortcomings, Rudy is earnestly trying... I've never used the word earnest before. Rudy is earnestly trying his hardest to be a better person, and it's difficult not to respect that. Each character has a similar weakness to them that's expanded upon or explained in some way that might not make you fall in love with them, but helps you understand. And there are lovable characters first off, like Roxy, who's actually pretty normal. But here's the thing. The manga conveys none of this. Almost every comment online is talking about, this character's bad because of this. Rudy groomed me when I was at Denny's. It's impressive how at least 40 people are consistently coming back to the story just to get mad at it. And that's because the manga leaves out a lot of what the light novel has. What takes Rudy 300 words to express in the light novel takes 2 pictures in the manga. So you lose a lot of characterization that's extremely valuable to a story that prides itself on the strength of its characters. What I found, however, is that the anime drops the manga on its ass. It slices through the boring text of the light novel and hoists the important stuff that the manga leaves out on its big, broad back. A beautiful hybrid of the two, just like a mixed baby. Everybody loves mixed babies. The characters are complex and really well written to not just be likable, but to be flawed. No one's perfect, and that's refreshing and cool. If the anime keeps going on the track it has been, I think you guys are going to think the exact same thing. Watch the first 5 minutes of episode 1, dude. The show looks gorgeous. Clean, fluid, expressive, cinematic, beautiful are all words I could use to describe the art, but it'd be quicker to say the water actually looks like water. Anime has come such a long way. Images that I generated in my head of each scene while reading the novel for this video were literally brought to life in front of me. The show looks really good, and again, just fluid. Like, a lot of the little actions the characters make are refreshingly fresh and not wonky looking. There's also a subtle film grain thing going on. The start of the anime looks like a movie, and the magic is genuinely gorgeous. It's goddamn clean as goddamn, which makes me excited to see how the fights are handled a little bit later, assuming the rest of the show looks as good as the first 2 episodes. Just like the art, this is some high quality stuff. Before we even talk about the music, I gotta mention the sound design is Let's just put it this way. The water actually sounds like water. And if I had to talk about the music and not the water, I'd say that it bangs. Every emotional high point in the anime is reinforced by these beautiful violin-y sad songs. There's also happy violin-y songs. I love violins and pianos and stuff. It's coming from the guy who worked on the Land of the Lustrous soundtrack, so that's exciting. Loading this thing up. Yep, we're gonna rate it an 8 out of 10 on the Doug score. That's right, that's 8 out of 10 possible Dougs. Mushoku Tensei is an S-tier shonen that, if adapted correctly, is bound to be a hit. It's good for people that are interested in the recent Isekai atmosphere but want something a little more mature. The story keeps you at the edge of your seat, the characters are super well written, it's aesthetically pleasing. I think most of you would want to tune in this season, assuming the anime keeps adapting the novel faithfully. If they switch up later in the season, which is totally possible, half of you might not be that into it. But yeah, I think it's great if you've ever entertained the idea of being reborn as a baby with the knowledge you have now. It's excellent at portraying that side of things. It's also excellent at portraying a main character that's not only competent, but vulnerable. Like you, when you aren't using NordVPN. See that? We're getting better at these. Last time we saw that I was playing Black Ops 2, which was already a fucking mistake, and some guy in chat started dropping IPs, including mine at some point. One use of a VPN such as Nord is to prevent stuff like that, but another use could just be playing games with your friends. I have a friend in Canada who I was streaming with, and he couldn't connect to my game session because our NAT types were different. He had the brilliant idea of actually using fucking Nord on stream to bypass his stupid internet restrictions and join our game.
NAT type moderate. We can probably play.
Oh, yeah, we can. My NAT type's moderate.
Don't you want to use Nord so you can discuss deep philosophical concepts with the boys, such as...
Everybody's got a leaky pee-pee. Everybody in the world has a leaky pee-pee. Nobody's just watertight, dude. That's the point of having one.
Want to watch a show that's region locked? Nord. Your school doesn't allow you to surf X videos? Nord. Encrypting your internet use is just one of many uses of a VPN. So if you're interested, Nord provided me with a link that will get you a huge discount on a 2-year plan with an additional 1 month free. Just use code SCAMBOLI at checkout. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.